Thank you, Dave. I appreciate that. Just would like to welcome Commissioner Petiti to the Big Ten. And the short time we've worked together, I've been very impressed and really looking forward to his leadership in our conference. I'm honored and blessed to be representing Indiana University here today. And I am very, very proud to be an Indiana Hoosier. I would like to begin by honoring the memory of Vi Taliaferro. Last month, we lost a very special member of our Bloomington community. In 2021, the Big Ten created the George and Vi Taliaferro Fellowship in honor of this amazing couple. One of the players we brought here today, his name is Aaron Casey, linebacker. He wears number 44 in honor of George Taliaferro. We decided to come up with a new tradition of selecting a player each year that will wear that number that best represents the work ethic, dedication, integrity, and perseverance that George Taliaferro displayed. And Aaron Casey is a perfect representation of this honor. Aaron's a graduate with a degree in financial management, all Big Ten linebacker, one of the best returning players at that position in our conference, and has become one of our best players and one of our best leaders. So excited to have him here today. Also, Noah Pierre, a very versatile defensive back, is with us. Noah's a special, special young man. Came to Indiana, had to earn his stripes the hard way. Took a few years to play on special teams and probably not play as much as he wanted on defense, but man, he just stayed the course. So tremendous perseverance and grit. And was rewarded a couple seasons ago to have that opportunity. He's been a starter ever since. Also a graduate with a degree in kinesiology. Awesome, awesome young man. And also, running back Jalen Lucas is here with us today. As a true freshman, became an All-American, first team as a kick returner. As was also mentioned, the Big Ten Return Specialist of the Year. And as special as he is on the football field, he's even better off. 3.2 GPA, tremendous worker, leader, humble, and a great representation for our program. I'm extremely excited for the upcoming season. Our one word for 2023 is toughness. We define that as the mental and physical strength to persevere. We had 8 games last season that were decided in the fourth quarter. So for the past 7 months, we've been building our toughness and developing this football team to be able to finish in those opportunities. We have a strong nucleus returning, and we had great success in the portal. We were very focused on identifying young men across this country that were the best football players that fit our culture, that wanted to be at Indiana. Obviously, a compressed window to figure that out. So therefore, we focused a lot on guys we already knew, had recruited previously, or may have coached at a previous school, or had a chance to be able to get to know a coach on that staff that was with them every single day. I think that's very, very important. Also really excited about the 3 new staff members we have on the field. Bob Bostad, our new offensive line coach, brings a tremendous experience in identifying and developing offensive linemen in the Big Ten Conference, as well as Matt Guerreri, who will be coaching our safeties and co-defensive coordinator that will be calling our defense. And then finally, Anthony Tucker, who's our new wide receivers coach that brings tremendous experience, once again focused on identifying and developing players at his position. So excited about this program. Obviously have a challenging schedule ahead of us. Very excited about the future. Got to build it, keep growing every single day. Questions?
Yep, we're going to start right here down in front.
Gwen Parks, Indiana University Student Television Station. Coach, is it difficult to build confidence with such a young team when your first game of the season is against a powerhouse like Ohio State?
Well, you know, I've been blessed here. So I've been head coach for 7 years, and 5 of those 7 years we've opened with a Big Ten opponent. So very familiar with this process. My first season was the Ohio State Buckeyes back in 2017. So challenging, yes, but I would say it forced you to grow up real fast. And so the urgency that the offseason is impacted by this reality of who you play September 2nd to open the season, I think it helps you. It helps you grow. It helps you have that attention to detail at a high level. Everybody's excited about the start of the season, but I think when it's that kind of an opponent, it all gets raised to another level. So our team knows that. We understand that. There's an urgency that our staff has because of it, and fall camp is affected by that in a very positive way. So it's a challenge that we embrace without question.
Coach, we'll go right down here in the center.
Sammy Jacobs from Hoosier Huddle. The wide receiver group seems to be more diverse in body types and skill set and stuff like that. Is that something that Coach Tucker brought in? Is it something that you discussed with the coaching staff to change the room to make it a little bit more dynamic?
Yeah, I think that it was something that we as a staff collectively identified, trying to create, explosive plays. When you go and you think about the game of football, and there's two real stats are stats, but there are two ones that really matter, and that to me is, can you protect the football on offense? Can you create takeaways on defense? So that turnover ratio is one, and then the explosive play ratio. How many can you create on offense? How many can you prevent on defense? And so we're not creating enough of those on offense, and it's hard to drive the football 75 yards on the defenses in the Big Ten. So wanted to get some more receiver body types to help create more explosive plays. So that was by design, and even in the portal mindset to go after that, as well as even as we're recruiting guys in our current roster. So definitely by design as a staff to be able to try to create more explosion by our offense.
Coach, we're going to stay to our right.
Zach Osterman, Indianapolis Star. Tom, regarding Ohio State and opening with a Big Ten opponent as often as you have, I guess, what have you learned from those experiences in terms of how you build week one prep when you've done this so many times before, having to start with not just a Power 5 opponent, but a conference opponent?
Well, I think that, like I said, it just fast forwards everything. It just causes you, and I get it, certain opportunities, you can kind of have a chance to slowly build up to a game like that. We don't have that luxury. And so everything is geared around that. So I think that once you get through that process and you have a chance to prepare for that type of an opponent in that situation and knowing it's going to happen, because you think about this, our sport, we don't have any preseason games, and you have two scrimmages that you have against your own teammates, and then we do a mock game the week before, and so that's just simulating situations, but you're not playing somebody else. And so to be able to have that where you go from that to having to play such a high level opponent immediately, it's challenging. When you have some young guys, you have some new guys, you got to mold them together because best team wins on game day. So just trying to build that best team. So as we go through, you got more probably focus on game-like situations than ever before in that window of time. But like you said, once you get through that and you have that opportunity, man, it really allows you, I think, to have an advantage, in weeks 2, 3, and 4.
We're staying down onto our right.
Coach Daniel Ollinger, Hoosiers Now. In terms of the quarterback position, when you eventually do name a starter, how important is it to you and your coaches that starter is a dual-threat quarterback? We saw how Dexter Williams opened up the offense with his ability to run last year towards the end of the season. So just when you name a starter, how important is it that they can also threaten in the ground game?
Well, I just think, I'm a defensive coach, and so by trade, and I just know it gives us trouble. Anytime a quarterback can extend plays, and it's usually those when it's not, scripted, when they can be able to create, elongate, put pressure on your secondary, and be able to beat you with his legs. You have to account for him in your pressure, whether you got to spy him or whatever you need to do. So I think anybody, and I think moving forward, that's really what we want to be able to have at that position, to be able to extend those plays. So, yeah, I think it's a variable for sure, but at the same time, once you pick who that individual is, you got to make sure you're building, everything around them for they can be at their best and they can be able to be comfortable. And obviously, whoever it's going to be is going to be, a younger guy that's going to have to grow up really fast, So, but I think that ability to extend plays, I think we're even seeing at the NFL level how valuable that can be. You keep that guy healthy, it's obviously an extra weapon that's very effective.
Coach.
Over here, Coach.
Coach Mason Williams with the Hoosier.com. I'm right here. I'm curious, you mentioned with your defensive background, now you're bringing in a new position coach that's going to call the defense for you. What goes into that decision for you?
Well, for me, I chose to call it a year ago because I thought that was best for our program at that time. But, I had not called it, obviously, with all the different things that are going on and with the portal and the NIL and just the complexities that you now deal with even at a higher level in that position. So I just felt very strongly as we went through that process, and I'm glad that I did it, but obviously feel like that we need, in order for us to get better and move forward, I wanted to bring somebody in to be able to call that, and so I'm really excited about Matt. I've known him for a long, long time, and Coach Cutt's the one that really, brought him up from a GA to a position coach to his coordinator there in their program for many years, and so very close with him. and that was a big influence on me. But I feel like that it's important for me to become the best head coach I can be, the best game day manager of the entire game, both sides of the football and special teams, for me not to be focused into calling the defense. And so I'm excited about that. I think it makes us better. And I'm excited about what he's brought to our program. And so, but this is a situation where he came to learn what we do. We have a system we believe in, and I want to make sure we stick with that, which we will, because our players believe in it. It fits our personnel and what we do. And I think he was a great complement to that. So it brought some ideas for sure, but also I want to be able to have the ability and the flexibility to be in that offensive meeting time as well, making sure that everything in all three phases is being where we need to be able to be our best on game day.
Down on our right, Coach.
Yeah, Tom, Jack Ankeny, SI Indiana. You mentioned hiring Bob Bostad this offseason. Just how confident are you that he can bring significant change to that group this upcoming season? And with having so many guys that, similar personnel as last year, what do you think it will take for those guys to kind of improve for the upcoming season?
Well, it was a huge focus for sure, and then Bob has a tremendous track record and in our conference. And so I've already feel like we've gotten better, some certain things that he's brought. And getting Matt Bedford back is huge, and losing him week one was a big blow to us. He was our best offensive lineman, and getting him back, and he's back to 100% now, which is exciting. I'm very excited for him. But I think the whole group, just to be able to mesh them, he's been with them all spring, being able to bring in his thoughts, his ideas, the toughness that he brings, just the attention to detail, the way he coaches them, and just the relentlessness of the way he approaches offensive line play. So it's a huge part of our team. We know that. I know that. We understand that. It's been something that we addressed, obviously, and those guys got to step up. Got several guys that play a lot of football at that position for us, and I'm excited about that group leading the way on our offense.
Okay, we have time for two more. We'll start over here on our right.
Hi, Coach. Carlo Braun, the Hoosier Network. Another year where the starting quarterback for week one is kind of up in the air, but regardless, you have guys like Jalen Lucas who kind of broke out towards the end of the year. How do you see yourself implementing more plays and getting those guys more touches?
Well, it's going to be by design without question. Getting Cam Camper back, losing him last year was a big blow as well. And so having him back healthy is going to be huge to be able to take some pressure off a young quarterback. And the backfield as well. Josh Henderson, I'm really excited about him. Christian Turner, another player we brought in through the portal, that I think we have a very, very strong running back room and have some flexibility, some different body types there, different body types at receiver, as was already mentioned. And to be able to create those explosive plays, to be able to take some pressure off us having to drive the football. But we want to be able to do a good job of being able to have a system where our guys feel comfortable, and whoever that quarterback is, that they can maximize their strengths. And so at the end of the day, it's being able to take your roster, maximizing those guys' skill sets where they can play their best football and be very, very productive. And at the end of the day, we got to score points. We got to score touchdowns in the score zone. We got to do a great job of staying on the field and playing team football.
All right, thank you, Coach. And we have one more down in front here.
Coach, the landscape of college football seems to be changing hourly, but one of the big things was the elimination of divisions in the Big Ten. How does that, one, give you the opportunity to play new opponents, and two, what was your first reaction to that news?
Well, I think when you look at, bringing in UCLA and USC, man, that's pretty exciting. That's awesome. We bring 2024, UCLA comes to us. 2025, we get to go out to California to play USC. Last time we played the Trojans, O.J. Simpson was their tailback. So bottom line is new opportunities, great time to be in this conference. You're going to see equitable schedules where teams are going to be playing teams more equally across the conference, which I think is a great thing, and that excites me as well, and playing some different teams on a more consistent basis. And so, but you look at it though, there's a lot of great football teams in this conference, and so everybody's schedule is going to be tough, and I'm excited for the future of the Big Ten Conference. Have an awesome day, Leo.
Thank you, Coach.
Morning. Excited anytime I get an opportunity to be here in Indianapolis. As always, would love to thank you guys, the media, for the job you guys do covering the great sport of football. In the summer, I'm just getting back from vacation, and during the summer, I usually try to find a little inspiration for going into the season, and it's ironic because the inspiration I found happened in a tiny airport in the British Virgin Islands about 10 days ago. And there's nothing worse than finishing a great vacation and then on your way home be stuck with about a 14-hour delay in getting out of there. And my family and I were stuck in Tortola in the British Virgin Islands in a really small airport there at Lettsome Airport in Tortola. And I got an inspiration. There was a little newsstand there inside the area where we were stuck for about 12 to 14 hours. And it's the guy named Joel. So this is a shout out to Joel for the job he did, because there's about 70 people that were affected with their flight being canceled, not being able to get home, and we were stuck without a lot of amenities and trying to figure out how to get home. And when you deal with airlines, sometimes they don't understand customer service anymore, and you get very few answers. But when I looked over at that little newsstand after about an 8-hour wait, I saw Joel there, and this guy had tremendous customer service. He made the best out of a tough situation for a lot of people, and he did it with a smile on his face. He, delivered food over to people, turned his TV around so people could watch TV as they waited, and it made me think. A coach's job is to take players where they can't take themselves, and with today's college, the landscape of today's college football, players are getting their just due finally with NIL, transfer portal, and all these things. But what I took from that 14-hour delay at the airport was customer service is at an all-time low. And seeing the way Joel navigated and handled all these people that probably weren't in the best of moods at that time, it kind of gave me a shot to say, you know what? One of the things that I feel like we do a great job at Maryland is we want to give our players the best college experience they can get. And I know that they're getting paid now with NIL and they're doing tremendous things and they are well deserved. But I still think it's our jobs as coaches to provide this great experience. And the best thing that we've done at Maryland since I've been back, and I wanted to take some time to thank a couple of people, we created a mentorship program. And this mentorship program takes some of the top CEOs and Fortune 500 companies located right outside of our campus. And 85 of our players have mentors that are CEOs, powerful business leaders, political leaders that are within the Maryland community. And it's been the best thing that we've done. And I want to thank David Gordon and Jeff Leventhal for setting up this mentorship program. And anybody that's been recruited by us have heard us talk about this program. And I looked at that as providing something outside of just money that would benefit our players for not just the next 4 years, but the next 40 years. And so, again, I want to thank David and Jeff for the job you guys have done with that mentorship program. Excited about the direction of Maryland football. Back-to-back winning seasons, back-to-back bowl game wins. Really excited about where we are academically in terms of preparing our guys for opportunities outside of football, as well as opportunities to compete at the next level. We had 22 academic All-Big Ten selections a year ago. 10 guys on our 23 team have already earned their degrees, their undergraduate degrees. We've got one player, Jay Sean Jones, that's earned an undergraduate degree, a master's degree, and working on a second master's degree. And so to me, those are the types of things that I'm really proud of when you talk about our program. When you talk about developing them for the NFL, we just had 7 guys here in Indianapolis for the Combine, which is the 9th most nationally. We had 5 guys drafted off of our 22 team. 10 total guys from last year are on NFL rosters as they start camp. And what that says is you can come to Maryland and you can get a great experience that prepares you for life after football, while also being developed to have opportunities to play at the next level. It also speaks to us being a developmental program, and I use that term a lot. And when I say developmental, we are a program that we are going to take players and we're going to find ways to make them better because of the time they spent in our program, whether it be in the classroom, on the field, or just in life, and have a positive impact on them. Our strength and conditioning program, led by Ryan Davis, has done a tremendous job of helping with the foundation that we've built the last 4 years, and I think has been noticed by just about anybody that's seen us play. We've created some recruiting momentum. The thing for us in recruiting, we're looking for smart, tough, reliable guys, and we feel like the last class that we signed, we've really hit those areas. We've been able to get some help, immediate help from the transfer portal, and are really excited about seeing just what this team can be. With us today, we have 3 players: Tarheeb Steele, we have Leah Tungavailoa, and we have Roman Hemby representing us. And all 3 of these guys are exactly what we talk about when you talk about representing the Terp way, and really excited that you guys will have an opportunity to spend some time with those 3 individuals that I think really reflect what being a Maryland Terrapin's all about. I'd like to end by just sharing a really impactful quote that I read. It says, "Vision without action is a dream. Action without vision is a nightmare." And for us, our program is at a point finally where we can say we're here to compete for Big Ten championships. You haven't heard me say that in the previous 4 times I've been in front of you guys, but I think now is the time. But we're not going to let goals like winning championships get in the way of doing the work, and our players understand that. And so with that, I'll open it up to whatever questions you guys may have.
Dustin Schutte, Indiana Sports Beat. Mike, you opened the season up with your alma mater, Towson. How unique is that experience going to be for you?
Yeah, Dustin, it's a really unique situation, a place that has given me so much. You know, the game of football has provided an opportunity for me to change the lineage of my family. Growing up in a tough area of D.C., playing at Towson, and that 4 years, 5 years I spent at Towson really have shaped and molded me into the man I've become today. And the coaches that helped me along the way, I find myself at times mimicking some of those great coaches. And so to be able to play my alma mater with their new coach that just came in for an opening game is something that I'm excited about. It's the second opportunity I've had to play my alma mater, but this one is really special for me because it is my alma mater.
In the back, Coach?
Mark Rogers with the Voice of College Football. Mike, you mentioned that the recruiting inroads that you've made, your predecessor as well, the program has developed well for the NFL, but most of that has come at the wide receiver position, defensive backs. Do you feel like you've developed this program to the point that you can compete with the best in the Big Ten in the trenches on both lines of scrimmage?
Yeah, you know, this year we had 2 offensive linemen drafted and a third that probably should have been drafted, but we have at least 3 of our 4 starters from a year ago that are all in NFL camps, and so we really feel like we have done that. You look at the defensive line and on the O-line, we all understand to win in the Big Ten, it starts with how you play inside the trenches. And so there's been no doubt that we've put a premium on how we recruit to prepare to play in the Big Ten. And to me, it means winning in November. And the way you do that is by establishing the ability to run the football as well as stopping the run. And we'll continue to recruit those positions in that manner.
Do we have another question for Coach? Up front here, please.
Mike, Steve Streaming, XL Sports. You've got this program now, so a lot of people believe top 30 in the country. How much pressure is it on you now to maintain that? And then also, you were talking about some of the transfers. How important is Shepard, the defensive back from Cincinnati, going to be to your program?
Yeah, you know, when you put yourself in a position where we've laid the foundation, we don't feel the external pressure. I think any pressure that we have to deal with as a football program or a football family, it starts from within. And for us, every year we have to start from ground zero. There's no building on what you did a year ago. You know, what happened a year ago at being 8-5 has no bearing on how we'll play this year. And I think it's really important for our players and anybody that's part of our football family to understand that there's no building on last year. You start from ground zero, and what you want to do is take the work that you put in a year ago, try to find a way to do it a little bit better. And I think we'll get the type of results we want to have at the end of the year.
We have time for 1 or 2 more here. Any remaining questions for Coach? Oh, right here.
John Steppe, Cedar Rapids Gazette. Several first-year coaches this year in the Big Ten. Is there anything that 2023 you wishes that first year you would have known in this conference?
Well, because of my experience here, having been at Illinois and been a part of building that program with Coach Zook, knowing the way this league is, I came in with a pretty good understanding. I do say that the 2023 me understands that to win in the Big Ten, good teams don't beat themselves, and there are a lot of things when you look at last season that some of those games where we were close that we didn't necessarily do the things or take control of the things we can control, and it's going to be really important if we want to take the next step, which is to compete for a Big Ten championship. It's going to start with us and by us. So,
all right, we have time for one final question, if there is one. All right, without a final question, Coach, thank you very much.
Thank you,
and
guys.
Good luck with your upcoming season.
Good to see everybody. Like everybody said before me, really excited about the 2023 season. I want to thank our athletic director, Mark Coyle, who I think is the best athletic director in the country. I want to thank our interim president, Ettinger, for his leadership and the guidance he's provided us over the last few months. Heading into year 7, I mean, it seems like yesterday, but this is year 7 for us at the University of Minnesota, and it's a tremendous honor to lead the flagship university of our state. Never take it for granted one day. We talk about our program being elite academically, athletically, socially, and then obviously with the serving and giving piece of that. I think we've made strides every year since we got there in all 4 areas. It's a life program, as we continue to talk about. We're talking academically. We'll just skip to all the other stuff. We've had 27 academic All-Americans in the history of the University of Minnesota. 9 of those 27 have come in the last 6 years. I know our staff and Jackie Lanish and her department and Robert Day are very proud of that, as we are too. Athletically, over the course of the last 3 full seasons, I think it's well documented, we have 29 victories, which is almost averaging 10 wins a year, and along with 14 draft picks over the last 4 years. So incredibly proud of our players, not only having the success on the field, but also doing what they came to actually the University of Minnesota for, and that is obviously the academic piece of that. Transitioning into the 2023 year, a lot of you and a lot of the outside sources have considered our schedule the second hardest schedule in America, right behind Ole Miss of the SEC. And so, you know me, I like to take things and be able to give it to my team and let us process it. So we presented it to them in January, basically, and said, hey, listen, this is the second most opportunistic schedule in America, and that's the way that our team has been talked to since January and what we've been preparing for. We've also taken this word, you're going to see we're a pretty experienced team and inexperienced kind of combined this year, but we've taken this word poise. And I'm talking about composure and balance, you know, especially with the schedule that we have. We better be a really poised football team. We better be a composed football team. We better be confident, and we better be balanced. And we've taken this word poise and said this is what we have to do to be really successful in 2023. And then we took it to a little bit of an extreme, and we said, okay, how do we get our message home to our players? So what we did was, since January, they've been listening to the band Poison in the weight room every single workout. And I'm not sure how many are 80s rock fans, but if you ask them what their favorite Poison song is, I'm sure they can actually tell you at this point. We actually got to a point where I meet with our board of directors, which is, you know, a lot of our players on our team who are the leaders, and we meet around once a week. And they usually start the meeting for the first 5 minutes telling me what they need to make the program better. It's their time to be able to tell me what we can do to even make it better. And the first thing that came out of their mouth this summer was, Coach, listen, we get it. We just want a little less poison in the weight room. So we've actually diminished the amount of poison we're playing inside that weight room right now. So it's really interesting to connect our generation with them, with that band. We have an interesting blend of experienced and inexperienced players. Talked about, I think it's well documented, the players that we actually have to replace in 2023. We're talking about 5-year starters, 4-year starters, the Tanner Morgans, the Mohamed Ibrahims, the Mariano Soriamarins, the Jordan Howdens, the T-Times, who are all now moved on to the National Football League. So we obviously have to be able to refill those and replenish that with some inexperienced players who are going to have an opportunity, but that's why you recruit. But when we talk about the experience we have coming back, we've brought 3 players here, Chris Altman-Bell, Brevin Spann-Ford, and Tyler Nubin, that have 18 total years of Gopher football combined. A 7-year player, a 6-year player, and a 5th-year player. So it's going to be a really interesting combination that we have moving forward. This is definitely a player-led team. And we talk about this all the time. Bad teams, nobody leads. Average teams, coaches lead. And elite teams, players lead. This is definitely becoming the offseason a player-led team, and I couldn't be more proud of the guys that we actually brought with us today. And you know me, I always like to talk and give a little tidbit about every single one of those guys that we brought. I'll start with Chris Altman-Bell. I've known Chris Altman-Bell for 8 years. I mean, most guys go to school. He's getting his 3rd degree in 7 years. I mean, we call him Dr. Crab. Chris Altman-Bell, Crab's his nickname. Who will ever forget his touchdown against Fresno? If he has a size 13 shoe, it's out of bounds. Thank God he has a size 12 shoe and stayed in bounds, or that 19 season doesn't go the way it has. The big catch against Penn State, 19, another big catch and touchdown that he had against Wisconsin. The one thing I love about Chris Altman-Bell was he was part of the group that we offered once we got to Minnesota to bring with us. And he's matured tremendously. You talk about a young man who's going to be a tremendous father, tremendous husband, and has grown up a lot through the adversities that he's had. He's getting close to being back to 100% and came back for his 7th year in our culture, I think, which speaks volumes to our program. Brevin Spann-Ford, you know, it feels like yesterday we were just recruiting Brevin Spann-Ford, who was 6'7", 208, 210 pounds at camp. And I remember this young man had multiple offers, but he had to keep coming back to our camp. And we're a developmental program, so he's 210 pounds. We're wondering if he's going to be a tackle, a tight end, or a wideout. And it comes to the 3rd time he comes to our summer football camp, and his mom, Jackie, finally looks at me. She bangs the table and looks across me and says, "What does my son have to do to get an offer to the school he wants to be at, his home state, Minnesota Golden Gophers?" I said, "I guess that's it. We're here to offer him." That's all it took, and we offered him, and I think the rest is history. The one thing I love about Brevin is when you watch him with his nephews, we have open practices for all of our families to come to any practice, and his family takes advantage of that, being a Minnesota young man. And watching him play with his nephews, again, another guy who's going to be a great husband, a great father, and just an elite person as he's developed inside our program. And last but not least, Tyler Nubin is one of the best safeties in the country, in my opinion. You talk about all these guys, you know, Brevin Spann-Ford was a 2018 Scout Team Player of the Year. Mohamed Ibrahim was a 2019 Scout Team Player of the Year. We're a developmental program. Tyler Nubin had to sit behind the Antoine Winfield Juniors and the Jordan Howdens, and he's emerged as one of the best college football players in the country. We originally recruited him, you know, as a corner / wideout, and ended up at safety. His dad, Rodney, mom, Sharice, were both student athletes, and he gets a lot of that competitive nature and confidence from his parents. But he has really become the vocal presence on our defensive side of the ball, and he can back up all the charisma and confidence that he has. He missed the last 2 games of the year. I think that's well documented with an injury. But the best thing about him is, as Coleman Bryson, who was a freshman, was his backup, became the bowl game MVP with a pick 6. The first person to meet him almost in the end zone was Tyler Nubin. And he almost got a penalty for running onto the field. And if somebody's going to get a penalty for running on the field, it's only going to be me. So, I'm just kidding. That's a joke if you know what I'm talking about. But that's the type of kid he is. That's the type of young man he is. I'm really looking forward to the season. And with that, we'll open up for questions.
Please get your hands up so we can get our mics over to you. We'll start over here on our right. Coach?
Coach Lynn Harrington with Stay Alive Power 5. How you doing today?
I'm doing elite. Thank you. How are you?
I'm all right. So how big is it for your program to be opening up the season by hosting Nebraska, you know, Thursday night in prime time? And how do you plan on taking advantage of the spotlight?
Well, I just got off the radio with the Nebraska guys, and I've known Coach Rhule for a long time. I have a ton of respect for what he's done. We go back to the Western Michigan days for me and the Temple days for him. He's a phenomenal football coach with a phenomenal culture, and his culture is all about connectivity. And anytime you're opening with a Big Ten opponent, it's always going to be a tough matchup, especially when you have a coaching staff like he has and a team like he has. I've always had a ton of respect for Nebraska. Our team always has. And starting Big Ten play right away really kind of gets the season off to a really exciting start right away. And it's going to be a fun environment at Huntington Bank Stadium, and we're looking forward to it.
We have a question in the back.
Hi, PJ. Scott Docterman with The Athletic.
Hi,
in
Scott.
a story that ran yesterday, there was some allegations that you probably found troubling regarding your program made by some former players. And there was a reference to a Fleck bank and Fleck coins that could be used, and in some cases there's allegations of violating team rules with those Fleck coins. Could you kind of describe what a Fleck bank is, those Fleck coins, and maybe respond to some of the allegations made?
Yeah, first of all, the Fleck bank, mostly used in 2017 and 18, was an analogy in a team meeting, talking about the more you invest into a program, the better experience you're going to get out of it. And as a head football coach, when you come in and you don't know anybody, right, the guys that do really good things are going to have a really good experience. If you're not doing all the right things, you're probably not going to have a great experience. There was no currency ever exchanged. There was no coins that ever existed. It was an analogy simply to explain investment for life, a life lesson of investment, simply that. No one ever got out of any type of punishment for that. And just so everybody knows, in punishing our football team, that word punishing, in fact, our athletic department has taken over our disciplinary type actions. We do not use physical activity to discipline our players at the University of Minnesota, and we have never done that. Our players do things like they wake up early and clean the weight room. And whatever you did, you watch a video on that. If you were late to class, you watch a video on tardiness. You then write your professor a letter. Those are the disciplines we actually have within our program, that our athletic department changed their policies and made sure that no physical activity of any sport could be used as punishment based on what we created as a football team. These allegations are baseless. We have full support of our athletic director, Mark Coyle, and our university leadership. This is a similar story that gets peddled every single year, and the majority of the players have been dismissed or removed from our football team. We also have around a half dozen anonymous reporting avenues within our football program that players can go to if they have an issue. Protection for All, EOAA office, mental health support, SAC, Leadership Council, and our athletic director, Mark Coyle, gives his phone number, his cell phone, to every single football player to call them if they have any issue. And to this date, there have been 0 claims on this issue. 0. Our program and culture is proven to work on and off the field, and is always done in a first-class manner. We're one of the most transparent programs in the country. There are tons of testimonials from past, present, and even future Gophers to support and prove that. My energy needs to be on the 2023 football team, and that only, and not the baseless allegations. So that's what the Fleck Bank was, strictly an analogy. And with all the other things that were reported, we have explanations on that as well.
We have time for one final question, if there is one. We'll go in front here.
Coach Sammy Jacobs from Hoosier Huddle. With the new schedule, how important was it to keep those rivalry games that Minnesota's been playing for hundreds of years?
Oh, it's huge. I think, when we all had to fill out, like what we all had to kind of fill out as an administration and a program of, what programs, what rivalries mean the most to you. And for us, and we have so many rivalries at the University of Minnesota, being one of the oldest members, but to hold on to the Wisconsin rivalry, the battle for Paul Bunyan's axe, and the float of Rosedale with Iowa is incredibly important for our fan base. It's important for our tradition, the pageantry of college football. And I think the Big Ten got it right when you're protecting those rivalries. You're not going to make everybody happy when you're rescheduling everything like that, but I thought the Big Ten did a really good job of making sure we protected those rivalries, and I think all of our fans want to see on a yearly basis. And if you don't see it on a yearly basis, you're going to see it very soon. And I think that's what's change is inevitable, and it's been for the better.
All right. Thank you, Coach.
You got it. Row the boat, Sky. Go Gophers. Thank you.
Wow, this is awesome to be able to sit in front of you guys as the head coach at Purdue. Definitely a humbling experience. I've known for a long time that I wanted to be a head coach one day. I remember sitting in a staff meeting as a student assistant in 2009 at the University of Colorado, and Dan Hawkins is running the show there. And I just remember that first staff meeting saying, man, this is what I want to do. This is who I want to be. And so to be here before you today is awesome. We've got a saying at Purdue. It was coined by our corners coach. His name is Sam Carter, and he says, at Purdue we're trying to bless you, not stress you. And so I definitely feel blessed today. Blessed to have a community and a career path that has put me in contact with people that have tremendously influenced my life, not only as a coach but as a man. Blessed to be at such an unbelievable institution as a first-time head coach with tremendous leadership administratively that support you and that encourage you and treat you first class and are competitive. Blessed to be here with three young men that will accurately depict what it is like to be a member of the Purdue football team, and blessed to be a part of a conference that is the best in the country that I have familiarity with. I think that it's every coach at this time of the year, they're excited. And I think the thing that is interesting is every coach is excited for different reasons. And so for me, I'm excited for this season, first and foremost, because of the guys we got in the locker room that have embraced us with open arms, the new staff, the change in culture. They have attacked what we've put in front of them, every challenge that we've put in front of them on a daily basis with great attitude and effort. I'm excited because of the staff that we have in our facility that attack their daily duties with passion and intent. Those guys do their jobs on a consistent basis and always approach their work with no ego and understand that it's the players' experience that is at the foremost and at the forefront of our jobs. I'm excited to show Purdue faithful what we've been working on since January. We've got 39,000 season ticket sales up to this point, which is the most since 2008. Ross 8 is going through renovations right now, where we'll be able to run through the Tiller Tunnel in honor of the late Joe Tiller, who set the standard for what it means to be a successful football coach at Purdue University. To be able to do that in its 100th year as a stadium will be awesome when we get to play Fresno State. And I'm excited just to start this new journey, to figure out what it is like to be a head coach in this great conference that is filled with tradition and history and excellence. So yeah, I'm excited to be the head coach at Purdue. I'm excited for this season. So with that, I'll open up the floor to any questions.
Just a reminder, please get your hands up and I'll recognize you so that we can get our mic holders to you. We'll start here. Coach to our right.
Yep.
Dustin Schutte, Indiana Sports Beat. Ryan, I know you're still relatively new to West Lafayette. Got to ask, have you been to Triple X? Have you tried the peanut butter burger out there?
I have been to Triple X. It was for breakfast, though. So the peanut butter burger does not sound appealing, but I'll definitely try it. I've heard a lot of things about it. But there are definitely some great food joints in West Lafayette.
We're going to go right in front here.
Hey, Ryan, Tom Deanhart, Golden Black. And, you obviously when you first came in, you gave Devin Mockabee a scholarship right away. Just kind of talk about maybe how you plan to use him and how good of a back and how big of a weapon he could be for you this fall.
Yeah, kudos to Coach Rhule and our strength staff. Devin Mockabee looks like a different player. He has transformed his body. Obviously, he's got talent and skill set to have success in this conference. That's proven. We're excited about his growth and his maturation with the scheme and with his ability to run the football and break tackles. Obviously, he can be a huge asset for us on the ground.
We're going to go to our right again, Coach.
Bree Shackelford, WLFI. So Purdue ranked 6th last year in offensive efficiency in the Big Ten, with players like Aiden O'Connell, Devin Mockabee, Charlie Jones, and Payne Durham helping kind of lead that charge. How do you plan to fill those gaps with the players that aren't inside your system right now?
Yeah, so that's a great question. Obviously, they had a lot of success a year ago, lost a lot of production from last season. So it was awesome for us to go through the winter workouts and spring ball to evaluate who we have on the roster and where we needed to go attack the transfer portal. And so we had guys that stepped up that were currently on the roster that we feel really good about being able to fill those production numbers. And we've also attacked the transfer portal and gained guys to our locker room now that have had some experience and played at a high level in collegiate football that we feel really good about heading into the season.
We're staying to our right.
Todd Golden with CNHI. Ryan, when you spoke with your players when you first arrived at Purdue, what was your message in terms of establishing a culture that you wanted to lay down with them?
Yeah, when I first arrived, my message to them was that I need to learn what it's like to be a Purdue Boilermaker. They've obviously had success at Purdue. They played in the Big Ten championship game a year ago. So it was my job to get to know them and to build trust with them. And in turn, I think they recognize the authenticity, they recognize the genuine approach, and as a result, they've embraced us and have done everything that we've asked them to do with maximum effort.
We're going to go over here to our left now.
Dub Jellison, Boiler Upload. Ryan, obviously you created a very unique defense. How will being that unique both on offense and defense help you guys during conference play?
Hopefully that it's a huge advantage. That was the goal. That's the plan. Obviously, we're gonna air it out and be creative in the run game on offense, and we'll be aggressive and strategic, and try to create chaos for the quarterback on defense to try to eliminate explosive plays and keep points off the board. Hopefully that'll be a formula for winning football.
Coach, we have a question to our right.
Hi there, Elsie Norton, the Crimson Quarry. You've been coaching around the Midwest for a while, and I was wanting to ask, how important is it for you here in your first year to Purdue to really get the in-state recruits, establish your culture with them, make sure you're getting them while you're getting this current roster of the culture?
Yeah, I mean, in-state, I think the blueprint for success in any program, you got to take care of your home state. That is the makeup, the general core of the locker room. That those guys will take pride in being from their home state and playing in front of their home crowd. So that's definitely priority number one. And so that was our main operative when we hit the recruiting trail, is to take care of our home state first and then venture out to our footprint and where we have connections to fill our roster that way as well.
Coach, we're going to go to our left.
Hey Ryan, Mick Walker, Boiler Sports Report. You and the rest of the defensive coaching staff spoke glowingly about Nick Scourton, formerly Nick Carraway, this whole spring. You guys made posts about him, talked about him. What about him did you guys see this spring that excites you all so much?
Yeah, one, Nick loves ball. Like, he eats, breathes, sleeps football, and the way he practices is hopefully going to be the way he plays. Obviously going against him and then watching his production and his profile tape when I arrived at Purdue. You saw flashes and you saw the skill set, but I think what we do defensively sort of heightens what he's good at, and it will showcase what he's able to do from an athletic standpoint, and really allow him to flourish as a defensive player and hopefully a dominant one in this conference.
We're staying to our left, Coach.
Sam King, Journal and Courier. Ryan, you mentioned coming through the Tiller Tunnel. Are there concerns that that's not going to be completed before the Fresno State game? And if so, what are some alternatives for entrance into the stadium for the team?
I've been in constant communication with the administration, who's been in constant communication with construction. All is going according to plan right now, so there is no plan B for the Tiller Tunnel. I think the only thing that won't be ready by game one is the elevator in the south end zone, and they haven't had an elevator there in 100 years, so we'll be just fine without the elevator. But we're looking forward to the experience and starting a new era with new toys in Ross-Ade.
To our left again, Coach.
Hey, Ryan. Jimmy Watkins, Cleveland.com. You're a defensive guy. I'm just wondering, philosophically, given that the last few Big Ten championships have won by Michigan and Ohio State, that kind of played two different styles, how do you construct a defense that can defend both?
You got to be creative and game plan and be specific and intentional with when you're aggressive, when you're conservative, and really you got to put your roster in the best possible positions to have success. And I think a large part of that is evaluating your roster and adapting and changing as a coach to who you have in the locker room. It's not the players' job to adapt to us. It's our job to adapt to them and give them tools to be in positions to make plays on game day.
Hey Ryan, Israel Schumann, Purdue Exponent. You were hired on your defensive work, brought in Graham Harrell on the offensive side. He's obviously a big piece to get. What's it been like working with him so far, and what do you anticipate that relationship to be in season from a game-to-game perspective?
Yeah, Graham has been awesome. I knew, being a defensive coach and having my background the way it is, and the history that Purdue has had offensively, I knew it was important for me to hire a offensive coordinator that would be able to attract quarterbacks and offensive skill guys. And so Graham was a no-brainer. He's been a home run thus far. Obviously, we haven't played a down of competitive football, but I've been really impressed with his approach to teaching and to motivating and holding everybody accountable on the offensive side. We've got great rapport. I played against him when I was in college. He won't like to hear this, but I did intercept him twice in one game. Won both of those competitions, by the way. We're competitive at Purdue. But, we've developed a great chemistry and rapport. We work out together all the time, every day. And he and Kane have had good back and forth, going through spring ball.
Okay, and we're going to take our last one over here on the right.
Kelly Hallinan, WLFI. With so many new roster additions these last few months, how are you making sure the team chemistry is good at camp and making sure these guys are meshing together ahead of the first game?
Yeah, that was definitely a concern when we figured out how many pieces we would have to add post spring ball. And so the thing that I think we did a good job of was finding the right type of guys that not only have the right requirements from an athletic skill set point, but the right type of people. And so I think when you've got a locker room that might not have a lot of experience together, but they have a common ground in that they love football for football. We got a bunch of guys that love the game for the game. It's not for Instagram followers or Twitter likes. They love the game for the game. And so when you have that common ground, you can organically develop chemistry and have real relationships. That is shown throughout the spring and through summer workouts. And I'm excited to see what that looks like when we face adversity come this fall.
Great. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Coach. Good luck this year.
Appreciate it.
First of all, it's great to be here, so thank you guys all for being here and covering Nebraska football. I want to make sure I begin by thanking Tony Petitti and the entire Big Ten Conference. In my short amount of time, it's been first class, and all the other coaches have been amazing. I want to thank Trev Alberts, who's here with us. I appreciate him giving me this job and giving me this great opportunity, and I want to make sure I thank everyone back home, everyone in Nebraska. It's been an amazing 6 months, and excited to get to the season. I brought 3 players here with me today: Luke Reimer, Jeff Sims, and Ethan Piper. All 3 of those guys, they're not just here for their own accomplishments, and they're all very accomplished. They're also here because they represent our team. And I know it's just the beginning. We're just getting started. But I like this team. I like our players, and I hope you see really good football this fall. So with that, I'll see what you got.
All right, we'll open it up to questions. We'll start right here to our right. Yep.
Coach Bill Bender, Sporting News. Week 2, you guys obviously played Colorado. They were in the news yesterday.
huge old school rivalry. I mean, what do you know about that game, and what have you heard about that game since you've come to Nebraska?
Well, if you know me, you know that I love college football. I'm a college football junkie. And so I remember the great days, Coach Osborne versus, Coach McCartney, Rashawn Salam, all the great players that played there. I think it's good for college football. I think it's great when we have regional rivalries where fans can drive to them. I think it's good for the game. And so as I was looking at this job, my wife and son and I, we sat down and went on YouTube, watched some of the old games, wanted to make sure they understood what being at Nebraska means and what a game against Colorado means. And so I'm excited for it. Obviously, they're doing a great job at Colorado, and we'll try to do our part to make sure that it's a great thing for college football.
All right, we're going to stay to our right.
Dustin Schutte, Indiana Sports Beat. Matt, now that you're at Nebraska, I got to ask this question. Are you a chili and cinnamon rolls guy?
Yeah, I had never heard of it before, and I was a little scared when I first heard it. But I married a woman who went to culinary school, and as you can tell, I like great food. I love great things, and so I actually went to a recruit's house, and Mom made it for me, and it's a little bit life changing. It's pretty good. So yes, I am.
Okay, we're going to go to our left here in the center.
Hey, Coach, Steve Marek with Inside Nebraska, part of Rivals. You touched on this a little bit before, but what to you is a successful first season for Nebraska?
Yeah, I've really thought about this, right? I mean, we want to compete in every game we play, right? I mean, we play to win the game, as Coach Morris said. So, I mean, we're going to go out and try to win every game. I think there's something bigger, though, for us at Nebraska. There was a time when Nebraska football was feared. And we certainly want to get back to that. We want to be a team that you say, you know what, that team's feared. But we're not at that point yet. We're at a point right now where I believe that we have to take back the respect of what it means to play Nebraska and to be Nebraska. I mean, I want people to respect when they see that white helmet with that red N on it. And so I want our fans to respect us when they pay their money to come watch us play. I want our opponents to respect us. I want all of college football to respect the way that Nebraska plays the game. And most importantly, I want our players to respect what it means to be a Cornhusker and what it means to be at Nebraska. So this season for me is all about us not just earning, but taking back respect and bringing back respect to Nebraska football. And so once you earn respect, then you can talk about being feared, and that's the process we're going to go through.
And we're going to stay to our left, Coach.
Oliver Vandervoort with Husker Corner. I'm just wondering if there's anything specifically you're doing different to prepare for your first season of the Big Ten than you did for your first season of the Big 12 or with Temple or stuff like that?
Yeah, I think I've been very blessed that Coach Osborne has been willing to share some things with me. We have a little bit larger roster than I've had at other places I've been. And so really practicing in the ways that Coach Devaney, Coach Osborne, Coach Solich did for 42 years of really dominance, having multiple stations, multiple drills going on, a lot like we practiced at Penn State. But I hadn't done that for many years, and getting back to it this spring has been really good for us. And so I think that's maybe not about the Big Ten. It's just more about being at Nebraska. I'd be a fool if I didn't ask Coach Osborne what the blueprint is. And he's been, he doesn't talk about plays. He talks about the way they practice first and foremost. And then, I've evolved, being in the NFL, being at different places. This is my fourth head coaching job. I tried to be really intentional taking this job about how am I going to do it. So, and I say I mean, I've got great coaches, and they bring a lot to the table, a lot of ideas. And we're going to try to put it together as best we can.
We're going to go over here to our right, Coach, in the front.
All right. Coach Lynn Harrington, State Live and Power 5. How you doing today?
Good. How are you?
I'm all right. So there's no denying that you have hit the ground running when it comes to recruiting. I mean, it's something that hasn't been seen at Nebraska since Bill Callahan was the coach. And, I mean, you completely locked down the state of Nebraska. I just want to know, was that ideal?
Yeah. So, I mean, I think the great thing with, for me was, I don't know if it was great. I mean, I was out of work when I took this job, right? So I had some time. And so in between, driving my kids to school and pickups and all that, I spent a lot of time looking at recruits. And Evan Cooper, who's on my staff, who's really been my recruiting guy, right-hand guy all along, we watched not just the kids that were committed to Nebraska. We watched the 2023 class that was still out there. We watched the 2024s, the 2025s. And what I saw was, there's a lot of talent in Nebraska. And even this year, we had 3,000 kids come through our camps. We wanted to reinvigorate the camps. So everyone from third grade all the way up through seniors in high school. And guys came to our camps, from small towns all across the state that maybe weren't on our radar, but they certainly are now. And so that was all intentional, and that was part of the reason why we took the job. Because if you're strong at home, if there's talent coming from Nebraska, then you're going to win. And we have a certain ratio that we want to have. We want to make sure we always have hometown kids there, guys who grew up, and being a Cornhusker means something a little bit more to them. That's really, really important to me. And so to keep that talent home was good. And I think that's good when you bring a kid in from Florida, you bring a kid in from Texas, to be surrounded by guys that are local, that can take them home, that can, show them a little love, parents that will, adopt them and, be there for them. That's how you have a program like Nebraska take off.
We're going to go to our left and back. Yep, go ahead.
Thank you, Coach. I'm going to lean on you. When you're a Cornhusker, it means a little bit more. A couple of years ago, Nebraska lost at Wisconsin. Guys were praying on the 50-yard line after the game. Less than 24 hours, the Waukesha parade tragedy occurred where many lives were lost. We give a lot of credit at Wisconsin just seeing your guys there on the field praying less than 24 hours before that happened. As a coach, how are you going to continue to build that culture and that climate that I think your team is really known for throughout the Big Ten?
Well, I think our program, our entire program, is built on really one purpose. We have a mission that we want to be the best team in college football and the best program in college football and the way that we do everything. But really our purpose, and my purpose for taking this job and being in college football, is so that young people, when they're 25, 30, 35, 40, that they say, you know what, my life is better because I went to Nebraska. And people might scoff at that, but that's why we do what we do. And so we try to attack each and every day, every single player, in terms of who they are as football players, but who they are as students, and also who they are as people. And young people right now in our society, there's never been a time where there's been more peril towards our younger generations, right? Coming out of COVID, they're way less resilient. There's way less connections. And so, whereas when I grew up, my connections were the Boy Scouts and the high school and the local church and all these things, like kids nowadays are suffering from stress and anxiety and depression. And a lot of it people believe is because they don't have those connections. A lot of kids are just connected to their phones. And so our program, if you watch it, we're out in the community all the time. And Gus Felder, our player development guy, does a tremendous job, and we're impacting the community because I want us to have connections to each other, connections to the community. A lot of education's online now, but even then we're still doing it in our academic environment, because kids, they can't leave college and not know how to be in a meeting. They can't learn not how to have discourse. They can't not know how to disagree with people and learn how to listen to other people that disagree. Wouldn't the world be a better place if we all knew how to disagree with each other respectfully? So, and then the spiritual component, whatever their worldview is. We have players that are Christian, we have players that are Muslim, we have players that don't maybe believe in anything. Whatever their worldview is, we're there to walk them through that. We're there to be there for them, because who they are as people is way more important than who they are as players. And that might not be popular, and we all want to talk about transfer portals and NIL and all that stuff. That's cool. This group of kids is going to wake up in 10 years, and all that'll be gone, and who they are as people will matter. So that's kind of our purpose, and I appreciate the question.
Just a reminder to please identify yourself and your outlet before you ask your question. We're going to stay to our left.
Mitch Sherman, The Athletic. Matt, can you speak to the timing of your hire and how it allowed you to impact the program in some immediate ways, particularly as it relates to the building, the facility that you're set to open soon, and what kind of an impact that can have on your players?
Well, the Go Big project, the facility that was being built, that was started, obviously by the previous regime, is, I think, a game changer. You might have heard me say this before, but when my wife walked through it for the first time, she's been in a lot of football facilities. She walked into my office and she's like, "You better win some dang games because you got no excuses." I mean, it's beautiful, and it was all set. There's not really many changes I can make, nor that needed to be made. I think the one thing is really a focus, not on recruiting, but on player development, right? I didn't want the first thing that you walked in and saw to be like our shoes. I wanted it to be like our mission, our purpose, and so recovery, regeneration, all the things that I've had a chance to be around some of the best athletes in football, and you see the way that they take care of their bodies. Really, Trev's allowed us to, from nutrition to strength and conditioning, sports science, recovery, put the best things in the world in that building so that we can be on the cutting edge and our players can recover and be as healthy as possible. So I'm glad I got there at that time to help do that.
staying to our left.
Hey, Coach. Erin Sorensen with Hale Varsity. With your experience, I'm over here. With your experience playing in the Big Ten, but now coming back to coach in the Big Ten, can you define Big Ten football? What it was and now what you hope it can be?
Well, I think that, when I was coming back to college football, Julie and I were very intentional that we wanted two things, really. We wanted to go somewhere where we wanted to raise our kids, and I can't think of a better place than Lincoln to raise our kids. And then we wanted to be in the Big Ten. I think we have a responsibility as coaches is to prepare our guys, not obviously for life, but also for pro football. And when you watch the way teams play in the Big Ten, the way they play defense, the way they play up front, the schemes that you see, it prepares them for the next level. So I think, you're watching, there's a shift. There's a lot of new coaches. There'll be some more diversity in terms of the offenses. Well, obviously, we're bringing in a 3-3-5 defense that not many teams are running. So you'll see some differences, but that's, to thrive in a conference as prestigious as the Big Ten, you have to be a little different. You have to evolve. And so I'm excited to go through my first year. I might have a different answer next year, but I've studied a lot of the teams. I have a lot of respect for these coaches and teams.
We have time for one final question for Coach, if we've got one. In the back to our left.
Sam McEwen from the Omaha World Herald. How you doing, Coach?
Hey, Sam.
A program that is so hungry to win and has been hungry for a long time and used to win, how do you keep the players and the staff and even the fans from getting ahead of themselves?
That to me, not letting people get ahead of themselves, that's the whole key. And I'll say it like, what I love about Nebraska is it's literally written on the side of the stadium day by day. Like, that's the key. Like, so we talk about 42 years. It wasn't that we ran the ball, ran option, or played this defense. It was this mindset from Coach Osborne, from Coach Devaney, from Coach Solich. Like, every little detail matters every single day. And so, like, we have to earn the right to even talk about playing Minnesota. Like, we have to go to training camp, and we have to every single day be elite in every single area. So that is the whole core of what we try to do. Is to block out all the noise and block out all our thoughts, and learn from the past, prepare for the future, but live in the present. And so that present focus is what will determine who we are. And, right now we have to deal with the fact that guys haven't won and they want to win. At some point, Sam, we're going to be winning, and we have to deal with the fact that, like, everyone's going to lose their mind and be happy all the time. Like, you're the same person whether you lost or won, if you're a good coach and good player. So we want to have that every single day, locked in focus of today's all that matters. I really study Coach Belichick a lot, and I had a chance to go up and coach against him in a practice in a preseason game. And one of his key guys was working for us. And I remember him saying, like, after they handed out the Super Bowl trophy, you never watched it, you never looked at it again, because that trophy and those rings had nothing to do with the future. And so for me, our guys know that you can win a national championship in Nebraska because it's been done. But we have to concentrate on today. Not even game 1 or game 5. Today. That's all that matters. So I'm trying to do my best job today, and then tomorrow I'm going to do tomorrow. And I can't wait for Sunday, but I can't forget about Friday and Saturday before I get there. So that's our mindset. That's why I believe that we'll win, and I'm grateful to everybody. Thanks for listening to me.
Thank you, Coach. Good luck in your first season.
Appreciate you.
Thanks, Coach. I appreciate that. I look forward to seeing you at camp. Make sure you got your tennis shoes on. No flip-flops on the sidelines. I always harassed him about. I just want to start by obviously saying how thankful and grateful I am to be back into the Big Ten and a part of this, to be representing the University of Wisconsin, our football program, and most importantly, this football team that we have today. It's been, I think, 8 months now. 8 months since I've moved to Madison, and I can tell you that everything involved in what I've done in the last 8 months has exceeded my expectations. And I know I went into it a little bit blind, not knowing all things about Madison and all things about Wisconsin, but I'm talking about from the community, the city, the campus, the actual university. I mean, all those things in the 8 months I've realized and recognized an incredible amount of amazing things that I had no idea about. But I think more than anything, over the last 8 months, recognizing and seeing and witnessing the culture of young men that we have within our program by far exceeds anything else that I've learned. And for that, I must give a lot of recognition to those that have come before me. And to kind of just recognize Coach Alvarez, to Coach Bielema, to Coach Leonard and Coach Christ. The foundation that those guys had laid and had built over time, over the last 20-some years, is really evident, and it's deep-rooted. And to them, I owe a lot for what it is that I'm walking into. So for that first month for me, it really was about recognizing and seeing all the things that had gone on over the last 20-some years. So it wasn't like come in that first month and just blow things up and make a splash. As we know, it was the time of a bull prep. And I think maybe it was a little bit unique to go in to say, hey, I want to coach and be a part of this bowl preparation and all that's going on. But it was really because I knew there were so many amazing things that had been done before me that I had to recognize. So for that first month, I had to take as much time to figure out, in the way that they've prepared, the way that they've practiced, to the way that they play. I mean, all those things for me in that first month was what it was all about. And then moving forward in the last 7 months, it's all about my ability, our ability to embrace what it is that they've done there and what has been laid before us, to recognize the amazing things and to have a way to enhance them, but then also to implement the things that we know it's going to take to continue to move our program in this football team to the next level. And so to me, that's what the last 7 months have been all about. And I can say now we're less than 1 week away from actually putting that to the test, right? We will find out in less than a week, what that trust, love, and respect that we emphasize within our locker room, what it really looks like. How deep-rooted is it really when all of a sudden we begin to do what we came here to do, right? Prepare to play for championships. And that's what's exciting for me. That's what's exciting, is to recognize this opportunity that's in front of us, how close it is, and now to put your culture and things to a test with all the things that come with camp and the season, right? The human elements, the preparation, the playing time, the winning of games. That's when you find out what you really got. So I think I'll just start off by answering a question that I know I've been asked so many times in the last 7 months, and I've already been asked it today. The question that comes down to, hey, define what success looks like in year one, and what are your expectations, right? I mean, it's the pretty common thing. I'll probably take away most questions, right? We have one objective, and that's to play for a championship. I don't think that'll ever change, whether it's year one, year 2, 3, 4, or 5. That's what our objective is. And then I'll tell our guys as we start camp here next week that nobody outside of our team, nobody outside of the walls which the guys that are there every single day that have everything invested will define what success looks like for us. And we cannot allow that. We can't allow fans, we can't allow students, we can't allow former players, we can't allow the media to define what success looks like within our program. But I'll tell you what I think success looks like. Success looks like, to me, when you play your best ball at the end of the year. When you play your best ball at the end of the year, you have an opportunity, and we will have an opportunity to play for a championship. But what does playing your best ball at the end of the year take? What takes an incredible amount of consistency. And in year one, and with new offenses and there's a lot of things that have to be done. So the consistency, the ability to grow, right? To grow as individuals, to grow as players, to grow as a team, is really critical in how the development will happen. And then our ability to handle adversity, which every one of us know, whether it's the start of camp or the start of the season, you're going to, no matter how your season is going, encounter adversity. That's the beauty of this game. How we handle that, how we have the ability to grow, how we have the ability to come together, the way that which we play in those last month of the season will really help me and our program define what it looks like and what it is as we move forward. So we've got 3 great young players with us here today, representing our program. it's quite unique that we've got a fifth-year guy, we've got a third-year guy, and we've got a first-year guy. And they epitomize all things it means to be a Badger. And I say that because even the first-year guy has embraced all the things just like I have. So first we have our running back, Braylon Allen, who's in his third year. He's from Fond du Lac, Wisconsin. We have Muma John Mehta, who's a fifth-year graduate linebacker for us, who's from Illinois. And then we have Tanner Mordecai, who is obviously a graduate senior from Waco, Texas. Three great individuals that give a depiction of our entire program. And you'd say a first-year guy gives a depiction of your program. Yeah, we've got a lot of first-year guys within our program, whether they're players or they're coaches. And I think the uniqueness of those guys and how they've come together really kind of gives a great depiction of our entire program. So I'll open it up for questions.
All right, please get your hands up so we can get the mic to you. Really? No Badger. Oh, here we go. Up here. Sorry.
How did I not know, Tim?
Exactly. Hey, Luke, why Wisconsin? You kind of summed it up a little bit there, but why Wisconsin? Because you had other opportunities, at least reportedly, to go elsewhere. And then number two, what is the imprint you have made to this point, and what is Fickell ball all about?
Well, we could take the whole time on why Wisconsin. I probably have said it, but it has a lot to do with being back in the Big Ten. It really does. It has a lot to do with the respect that I have always had playing against and preparing for Wisconsin. Understanding and recognizing what the culture, what I assumed the culture was like from afar, felt like something that would be really, really in my wheelhouse. And that's why I said that it's exceeded my expectations, just in the way that I believe I fit and we fit in the things that we want to be able to do. But I think there's quite a uniqueness when you put the family involved in it as well, and that has a big part of it. Timing has a lot to do with that, but then the ability for my family, our families, the people that have come with us, that to do what it is they want to do and be able to do it with their own kids as well. And then whatever you want to call Fickell, it's not about me. Hopefully we all will understand that. It's about the way we can do things together. And I think what the ball will look like from us is, it doesn't matter whether it's running or throwing the ball. It doesn't matter whether it's four wides or packed back in there like maybe the traditional style, whether it's a 3 down or a 4 down. What it looks like is the ability for guys to do things together. The ability to feed off of one another, the ability to ultimately, this is a game about toughness and your ability to be physical up front, your ability to win ball games in the fourth quarter. That has a lot to do with a mentality. That has a lot to do with not just how you play the game, but how you train in the game. So I think all those things together was one of the things from afar that I felt like could fit and be a really good natural fit for me walking in the door. And that's what I said. I've been not pleasantly surprised, but I've been really impressed with all things that I didn't know.
Hey, Luke.
We're going to stay over here to our left.
Jimmy Watkins, Cleveland.com. We haven't seen it yet, but the quarterback that you grabbed from the portal and the offensive coordinator you hired, it seems like you might be changing what has been the philosophy at Wisconsin. Why do that?
Why not? I think to the naked eye, to the normal fan, to the kids on campus, to whoever, I think you're going to see, it's going to look different. There's no doubt. Whether it's, 2 tight ends, 3 tight ends, 2 backs in there, that may be the tradition of what Wisconsin has been and been really successful with, to the ability of being able to spread things out a little bit more. I don't think that it was anything to do with, hey, let's change what it is that they've done and been really good at, and let's bring in somebody that's going to do something different. It's more about people. And obviously I learned that growing up in the Midwest and from a great former coach as well. It's about people. And when you get the right people together, they understand, regardless of who they are labeled to be, whether they're a ground and pound guy, whether they're an air raid guy, what is the core values to the things that you do? And it might look different, but deep down as you dive into it, it's still going to be about the guys up front. It's still going to be about physicality. It's still going to be about controlling and winning the lines of scrimmage, whether it's offensively or defensively. But the thing that I loved about this opportunity in particular was they never asked about that. It wasn't like, well, what are you going to change, or what aren't you going to change, or this is what. No, it's, we believe in you as a person, we believe in you as a coach, and we believe that you'll do what's best to continue to grow our program and move us forward. And so I give a lot of credit to obviously Chris McIntosh, who believed that, and you know, the people that are around us, that we'll figure out, you know, what exactly it will look like as we continue to grow, but the core values won't change.
Okay, and we have one final question here to our left.
Hey, Coach. Steve Hellwagon, Bucknuts 24/7. Congrats on
Thanks,
getting to
Steve.
the Big Ten. My question: you played for John Cooper, Jim Haycock at Ohio State. Worked with Jim Haycock, and then obviously Jim Tressel, Urban Meyer. Just how did all these different coaches impact and mold you, and what have you borrowed maybe from each of them? And to kind of, I mean, you're 20 years into this as a college coach, and a few years now as a head coach. What have you borrowed from all the people that were your influences?
Borrowed, stole, became a part of. They're all those things, and I think that those opportunities, those situations have all shaped me. Like I was very fortunate to be in one place for a very long time, but really be with 3 Hall of Fame coaches. You know, from Coach Coop, who I played for, to Coach Tressel, to Coach Meyer, 3 Hall of Fame coaches that have done it in many different ways. And that's probably the greatest thing that I learned, that there are many different ways to do this. There are many different ways to lead. There are many different ways to win and to grow a program. But it's got to be you. It's got to be authentic, and it's got to be consistent in all those things. And taking things from each and every one of those guys that I was fortunate enough to spend a lot of time with, whether it was 5 years, 6 years, 10 years, and 5 years. I mean, that's a lot of experience. But the 8 or 9 months where I had an opportunity to kind of do things on my own really kind of showed me how important the true leadership behind all that we do is. And the failures that I had, especially in those 8 or 9 months, probably as much as those other times with all those guys, have really helped me be who I am. So I think there's a shape and there's a part of all of it, and it doesn't. You could come and you could see and you could recognize things from all of them, but I think more than anything that it's the ability to be consistent, it's the ability to believe in what it is you're doing and be authentic in everything that you're doing.
All right, thank you, Coach. Good luck in your first season.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Wonderful to see everybody. Start of a new football season. Seems like we just finished the season, and we're starting another one. Honored to be here. You know, as Dave mentioned, really the off season has been one of work for our entire football program. Our players have had a tremendous off season, and look forward to starting practice on the 2nd. Happy to take any questions.
We'll start down here in the front to our right.
John Borton on 3 in the Wolverine. Coach, J.J. McCarthy's been in the fire for 2 straight years now. What would be the next logical steps for him this season as a quarterback?
Well, talking about J.J. McCarthy, the first year he played as a true freshman in games sparingly. He became a full-time starter in 2022, and I have searched my memory for somebody who's been a first-time starter and had a better first year as a first-time starter, and I can't come up with the one. He's a once-in-a-generational type of quarterback at Michigan, and his progress continues to grow. You know, daily he's at the top of his game right now, really in all aspects. Everything that he does athletically, everything that he does throwing the football are at the elite level. And then the thing I think that makes him the most special, that differentiating, you know, good and great, is that he's just willing to do anything for his teammates, anything for his team. And I think there's some compared to Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, would be two, and I know there's others, but that have that level of talent plus the quarterback position to do anything, willing to do anything for their team. That, and I base that off of watching the way Patrick Mahomes interacts with his teammates, what he says about his teammates, what they say about him. Josh Allen, what he says about his teammates, what they say about him. So just looking through the keyhole that way. But that's what I see in J.J. McCarthy every single day.
Coach, we're going to go to our left.
Hi, Jim. Dan Hope from 11 Warriors. Ryan Day said yesterday that he thinks there should be a conversation about playing the Ohio State-Michigan game earlier in the year. What's your opinion on that?
We'll play that when we'll play that whenever it's scheduled to be played. We know we're going to play it every season, at least once, and but I don't have a particular opinion of when it should be played. Right now, I mean, it's been played that last game of the season. I think everybody's used to that. That's part of the Thanksgiving tradition now. So that's when we'll expect it.
Do we have more questions, please? We're going to stay to our left.
Tom Crawford, Press Pass, Wolverine Live on 3. Jim, I think it was 3 or 4 years ago here at this event, you were the first coach that I knew that proposed a one-time transfer, and now in the category perhaps a watch what you wish for, looking where it is right now, how would you evaluate the transfer portal, how the NIL is working into that, and is the 60 days too much availability, the 45 days right after the season, then you have that April 13th to April 30th, is that too much to deal with as a program of players going in and out?
So the reason I mean, the very 4 years ago when I talked about that, I mean, the main reason was, I mean, the only sports that you could not transfer without penalty were football, men's basketball, women's basketball, and I believe hockey was the fourth. I remember that there was 4, and every other sport could choose what was best for them and best for their families. So now we have that in football. You know, a young man can choose what's best for him and for his family. However many years we're in on that now, I would say so far so good, and no need to change. Surely need more data, right? I mean, of all the players I talked to, so the ones that were on our team that went into the portal, good thing. Those that came from the portal to our team, you know, they categorize it as a good thing, and at least it was their decision. You know, their decision and their family's decision. Talking to even when I talk to our own players who haven't gone in the portal, ask them, what do you think of the portal? And they say, does more good than it is negative. And I think that's a tremendous way to categorize it, at least from my view, from the players' view that I've talked to, and certainly too soon to change it.
Further questions, please. Adam.
Hey, Jim. Adam Rittenberg with ESPN on your other side.
Sorry, to your left.
I just want to know where do things stand just with the NCAA investigation and your own situation, if there's any discipline that's been agreed upon, or where things are right now?
Right. So, as you probably already know, I mean, I can't, not allowed to talk about any aspect of that ongoing situation. And I'm with you. I mean, I'd love to lay it all out there. Nothing to be ashamed of, and but now is not that time, and that's about all there is to say about that.
We're going to go to our right in the back.
Tyler Tashman with the Des Moines Register. This is more of a contextual question to the last 2 seasons, but you talked about what JJ had been through How much of a benefit was it for him to learn from a guy like Cade McNamara? In what ways did you see Cade push JJ and help him get to where he is now?
So many great ways. I mean, remember being here last year at this time. I mean, going into this training camp with two players that were starter caliber, and I loved the way they competed. It was never combative. JJ saw everything in the way Cade would compete and grind. He wasn't there. My most memorable moment with Cade was the 2020 game where at Rutgers and down 17 points, and he went into the game, and it was just like the spark, the throwing the ball with no conscience and just playing free, and from that moment on, that was the kind of player that he was. I remember he got a big hit right before halftime too, and then just gravel in his gut went out there. I mean, love Cade, and certainly JJ was in the same quarterback room and saw all those same attributes, and so it was tremendous. Now there's going to be some situations like that this year. I mean, as I go into training camp this year, and not at the quarterback position. JJ is he's our quarterback, but there's other positions where it's going to be very similar to having two starting players and then watching it unfold. Who's going to start? We're going to play the best players. How do we know who the best players are? They play the best. I see that at corner, one of the starting corner position. Amarion Walker, Josh Wallace, Jaden McBurrows, some other very fine players, newcomers. But I think it'll come down to a situation where Mikey be a starter, Will Johnson will be a starter, and then who is that other starter, whether it's at nickel or corner. And it may take training camp, may take into the first couple games. Probably the same thing at edge rusher. The edge position, I see 4 really good edge players there, at least, and probably going to witness the same situation there that may go into the game 1, game 2, very similar to what we saw last year at the quarterback position. And there's some other tight battles. Offensive line, I look at 10 guys right now that are starter caliber. Our running back situation is 2 great players, Dono and Blake and Dono. It doesn't get any better. And could go through the tight end position, Colston Loveland. I know I'm on camera here, so the longer it takes him to realize how good he is, the better off he'll probably be. But I think the secret's out. He is really, really good. A.J. Barner has been a great addition to our team. We'll have two really great players there, Matt Hibner and Max Bredesen. 4 outstanding guys. Marlon Klein's coming. Pretty much I could go through our roster right now and paint a similar picture. We do this thing called KPIs, Key Performance Indicators. It's about 47, 48 categories: strength and power, speed and agility, flexibility, mobility, and every guy's always trying to, up their grade. By far, I look at this off season and the work that's been put in, and just seeing those key performance indicators just rise weekly and monthly. Excited, very excited to turn that loose and start training camp. I think our team's as healthy as you could ask for, very talented, and extremely hard work ethic. And not one of them wants to hear about what they did last year or the last 2 years. It's always coach, we're doing it again. We're doing it now, and now's the time that matters. So that's the kind of attitude and effort and talent we're taking into this start of this training camp.
We have 2 more questions. We'll start on the right.
Over here, Coach Bill Bender, Sporting News. Running back salaries have been talked about a lot in the NFL over the last couple of weeks. So with Blake's decision to come back, I mean, how much is that part of the conversation when you're talking to running backs and how they, get paid at the next level?
It hasn't been part of the conversation. Blake said he's coming back. I mean, it was pull it in, pull it down. That was made my day, made my week, made my off season. What he shared with me was that he wanted the full off season. He wanted to be able to get not even back to where he was, but better, stronger, faster, quicker than where he was. He wanted that season, and then when it was time for him to go into the NFL, he wanted to be able to go in fully prepared with a full workout leading up to those combines and to that draft. And when that time comes, I mean, nobody's going to get a better guy. They're not going to get a better, more talented player. They're definitely not going to get a player that works harder or cares more or is more of an infectious, positive to his teammates in terms of being a leader. Heck, I mean, the 3 guys that are here, Chris Jenkins, Mikey Samerstill, Blake Corum, I mean, each one of those 3 are walking, talking billboards for how you should attack each day with an enthusiasm unknown to mankind, and it's infectious on our team. So I think Blake's in a great place. Everything he thought of, everything he visualized in terms of where he would be right now, he's well trained, he was well thought out, and he's in a great place.
Our final question down here in front in the left.
Hey Jim, Andy Witchery with On3. Perhaps building off that last question, there was a one more year fund designed to retain 4 players, including Blake. What was that like to have that campaign designed to retain some key players from last year's championship team in the Big Ten?
I'd have to say, I mean, the collective, we support our collective. Former player Jared Wangler, everybody that cares about Michigan. Can't wait. Have a great golf tournament coming up on July 31st, and looking forward to building on that.